Steve Moore from Santa Rosa, California, spent 2 tours of duty with the Army in Iraq. He will talk to us today about PTSD and how service dogs can help.
I want to talk to you about a program called Pause for Purple Hearts, but to do that I have to kind of set the stage for why I think is important. My first tour in Iraq, we spent most of the time on the Syrian border in a little town called Husayba. It was kind of a dirt hole. We'd get attacked there every night. In the same town, a little boy, he's about 9 years old, his name's Steve-O. You can actually Google search him, he's on the internet, he's been on Oprah, we brought him back home with us. He turned himself into us at the request of his mother. His father was a lieutenant in the Iraqi army leading an insurgency cell in the town of Husayba. And he helped us capture over 40 big names. Obviously, as a result, we couldn't leave him behind. We decided to take Steve-O back to his hometown of Husayba one last time to say goodbye to his mother. When we got there, at the entrance to the town, there were 2 little boys hanging by their necks from the arches leading into town. Their only crime was selling us sodas while we were at the checkpoint. As an example, they had to be executed. When we got to Steve-O's house and went inside, his mother also had been executed. This was the moment, I think, in the 2 years that I spent there that I remember very clearly my soul step out from my body and say, "No more." I had that conversation with myself, no more. I was on my own from that point on. When we came home, it was a happy time, right? My time was up. I had already spent 6 years in the Army past my agreed term. So I was in the Army for 4.5 years. I buried myself completely in work. I was working upwards of 15 hours every day. And that was it. That was my life until our second son, Aiden, was born. And when that happened, everything changed for me. With the 2 of them together, the only thing I could see in their faces were these 2 boys hanging from the arches at Husayba. My nightmares became very different. It was still always a battlefield type scene, but randomly people dropping out of the sky hanging from their necks. I pretty quickly lost control, even though I still wasn't ready to admit that I had a problem. Within 2 weeks of my second son being born, my now ex-wife and I separated. I left. It was not her decision. I just ran out. I stumbled on Bergen University for Canine Studies and started working with the dogs. All of the things that they try to regulate with medication happens naturally when you're working with dogs. It really does. Anybody who has had a dog knows this without maybe necessarily knowing it. Increased longevity, lower blood pressure, lower heart rate, promotes the ability to bond. All of the skills that, when you're training dogs, all the skills that you might have lost in your struggle to rejoin society, you have to redevelop in order to successfully train dogs with us. It inhibits stress reactions, releases the feel-good chemicals that your body's forgotten to produce. The list goes on. These are the kinds of things that simply petting a dog does for you. So Pause for Purple Hearts is founded on the veteran's tradition of helping his fellow battle buddy. What brings people in? You are training a service dog as a therapy, but the dog that you're training is guaranteed to go to another veteran with a disability once it's ready to graduate. So nobody but a veteran can get a dog that was trained through this program. Why is it so important? There's 2.3 million veterans of the Iraq-Afghanistan wars. These are combat veterans, 2.3 million. 2.6 million veterans of the Vietnam wars. These are the wars that we're dealing with right now in terms of PTSD. Roughly 30% of combat veterans are diagnosed with PTSD. I'm not a mathematician. 2.3 million, 30% of them PTSD. I'm only one of them. Of the Iraq War, same with Vietnam Wars, 30% as well. You can take Desert Storm, they say it's around 15%. Of those, only half, whatever stigmas are there, whatever inability to accept a psychological disorder, only half are willing to seek treatment. Of the half that do seek treatment, only half will receive the minimum of adequate care. That basically means they're going to get the drugs they need. And over 60% of the people that are prescribed the medications are still symptomatic after they go through treatment. Do the math. You have 30% of 2.3, make it close to 5 million American veterans. 30% of them have PTSD. Only half of them are going to seek help. Only half are going to get the minimum of adequate care. You've got 75% of American veterans with PTSD out there trying to deal with it on their own, basically. Substance abuse, failed personal lives, alienated friends and family, a suicide rate that's out of control. 3 people from my unit after coming home killed themselves because they couldn't deal with it. And all we have to offer is drugs by the boatload. Over 30 years ago, Bonnie Bergen, to all of our eternal debt, started to open our minds as to what the relationship between a man and a dog can accomplish. We know the simple act of petting a dog corrects all the problems that the drugs are supposed to be correcting. Chew goes everywhere, every day with me, and I can't imagine a time when I could get up in front of a group of people and talk to them about what I went through. And it breaks my heart that so many people are out there still where I was, and they have no hope. And there's programs like PPH and other programs just like it that have so much to offer. And the only thing that we are offering are drugs. And it breaks my heart and it makes me sick. And that's where I am, and that's where we are.